Well, days after a new report shows Nigeria's inflation rate rises to 25.8% in August, the president nominates a new CBN governor. What can we expect from monetary policy with this new announcement? Good morning. It's another packed episode of Business Week where you'll get to catch up on all the top stories of the past week. I'll be talking to the CEO designate of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, as well as Dr. Juliet Ehimwen. Stay tuned and we'll see you shortly. Well, as usual, let's go and take a look at what's happening on global energy commodity markets. Brent is shooting through the roof. It's been on a bullish rally, the highest level since November 2022. We were at $94 a barrel as at 5 p.m. yesterday on markets. Brent futures are trading. Traders are really bullish at the moment. Well, this is due to several things. We've seen some great figures coming out of the Chinese market, as well as the fact that U.S. supplies have dwindled. We know Saudi and some of the OPEC Plus members like Russia are maintaining their $1.3 million barrel a day petrol quotes through to December. And of course, that's impacting WTI, the North American grade, but gas and gasoline, not as bullish, I'm afraid. Let's look at what's happening on the Nigeria stock market. The big news, of course, in the last week was that the FTSE Russell Group downgraded Nigeria from frontier market status to unclassified status. And we saw a massive sell-off in markets during the week on the NSE, but it did rebound on Friday, up by 7 bips to about 67,395. Moderate trading volumes and values at 5.23 billion there, and market capitalization still at around 36 trillion naira. Well, what's happening in Europe? European markets. It was a bullish finish on the floor of most European stock exchanges on Friday. Euro Stoxx 600 up by 23 basis points, and all the other indices across European markets also following suit. We saw the ECB did raise rates by 25 basis points, and I'll be talking about that a bit later in the show, but a bullish end to the week in Europe. Wall Street, probably not as bullish. In fact, it was a bloodbath on Wall Street. That's interesting because SoftBank's ARM did go to public markets, and we saw a 1.7% increase in its valuation, but that didn't have enough of an impact on NASDAQ Composite, which was down by 1.63%. Same with the Dow Industrial Index, and S&P also down by 1.2%. Interesting end to the week there in North America. Well, my business top picks for this week. The first story here is about Zambia. Zambia is getting in on the climate change debate. The country has signed an agreement with Chinese investors to plant trees, which will help offset carbon emissions across about 4 million hectares of land, which is about 5% of Zambia's land mass. And that means the country of Zambia is going to generate around 22.3 million carbon credits. And each carbon credit represents a ton of carbon that is taken away from the atmosphere. So good for the climate. Of course, we know deforestation is a problem for climate change. What else do we have here? The Nigerian market, as I highlighted earlier, suffered a loss of 755 billion naira during the week over that downgrade from the FTSE Russell Group. Now, the FTSE Russell Group is a subsidiary of the London Stock Exchange, and they have said because of the challenges foreign investors are facing in repatriating dollars back to their countries, there was depressed investor sentiment, and now Nigeria was downgraded, unfortunately, from frontier market status. Not a great thing. I think the government and the CBN is going to need to do a lot of work to lure investors back. Yes, we have a willing buyer, willing seller policy since the reunification of the exchange rates, but liquidity, that's the big word, still remains a challenge. European Central Bank hiked rates by 25 basis points. It's now seeing rates at 4%, the highest level of all time. Is it worried still about inflation? Perhaps a bit from wage growth, but sources from ECB are saying they may maintain rates going through the rest of the year, but it depends on what the data on inflation says. So interesting times there for Europe. Let's see what the Fed will do next week. And of course, oil prices due to tight supply, record high for oil prices. Good news for those who export oil, not so great for those who are importing oil. Will that fuel more petrol price hikes? We shall see. But Brent is topping $94 a barrel, and that is due to Chinese demand. China's figures on employment, retail sales, consumption demand are shooting through the roof and impacting oil prices upwards. And speaking of China, the news out of China this week is that the economy appears to be responding to stimulus measures by the Chinese government. We're seeing a pickup in retail sales as well as industrial output. So is China finally recovering from the headwinds of the COVID era? Well, time will tell. That's it for the business topics. Well, let's go to other news. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has approved the nomination of former banker, chartered stockbroker, and former chair of Citibank Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, to serve as the new governor of the central bank. A statement by Mr. Tinubu's special advisor on media, Ajuri Ngalale, said the new appointee, who was also former Lagos State Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning, was nominated for a term of 5 years in the first instance, pending his confirmation by the Nigerian Senate. Furthermore, the president approved the nomination of 4 new deputy governors of the CBN for a term of 5 years as well, pending their nomination by the Senate. The newly appointed deputy governors are MM Usoro, Executive Director, UBA, former Kaduna State Commissioner of Budget and Planning, Mohammed Sani Abdullahi Datijo, former CEO of Keystone Bank and former Executive Director of Union Bank, Philip Ikeazo, and finally, Bala Bello, the Executive Director at the Nigeria Export-Import Bank. So, news there out of CBN. Well, Nigerians are still mourning the news earlier this week of the passing of accounting icon Chief Akintola Williams, who passed at the age of 104, with tributes pouring in. This report looks at the life of Nigeria's foremost chartered accountant and his love for the arts, culture, and music.
Akintola Williams, fondly called the father of accountancy in Africa, has finally bowed out of the scene, aged 104, after a long and illustrious career with outstanding honors from Nigeria and Britain. Born in Lagos on August 9, 1919, Williams was the first chartered accountant in Nigeria and is renowned for having played a part in founding the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN. The doyen of accountancy, who is the older brother of late legal icon Chief Rotimi Williams, acquired his education for the most part in Lagos in the 1930s to sometime in 1944. Following which he acquired a Bachelor of Commerce in 1946 at the University of London and later qualified as a chartered accountant in England in 1949. Chief Akintola Williams founded an accounting firm in 1952 that later grew organically and through mergers to become the largest professional services firm in Nigeria by 2004. Giving further credence to how massive his contribution to the accounting profession on the African continent was. Apart from being a founding member and first president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICAN, he played a crucial role in ensuring stability in the Nigerian Stock Exchange, an organization he participated in founding. He indeed played a key role in the accounting profession and the larger economy. But beyond accountancy, Chief Akintola Williams, in his latter years, was noted for his promotion of arts, culture and music through the Musical Society of Nigeria, with the Akintola Williams Botanical Garden at Nigeria Conservation Foundation headquarters in Lagos named in his honor. Chief Akintola Williams, an accounting icon, passed away in his Lagos home on Monday, 11th September. Godfrey Eshemoge, Arise News.
Wow, what a legend. May his soul rest in peace. In August 2023, Nigeria's inflation spiked to 25.8%, up 1.72 percentage points from the previous month's reading of 24.08%. This is supported by the recent report of the National Bureau of Statistics, which released the Consumer Price Index report for August. The large rise in prices is a result of the elimination of fuel subsidies and the depreciation of the official exchange rate. Inflation increased from 2.89% in the previous month to 3.18% in the review month. Well, out of the US now, Instacart has set a target of up to $9.3 billion in valuation on a fully diluted basis in its hotly anticipated US IPO, the initial public offering, much cheaper than the price tag it had fetched in its last funding round. The US grocery delivery company, along with some investors looking to cut their stake, is aiming to raise up to $616 million by offering 22 million shares, priced between $26 and $28 each, it said in a regulatory filing. In an unusual move, cornerstone investors have agreed to buy up to $400 million worth of shares sold in the offering, which would account for nearly 2/3 of the total proceeds at the top end of the price range. Airbnb announced on September 11 that James Manyika, Google's Senior Vice President of Research, Technology and Society, has joined its board of directors, and he's set to chair the board's stakeholder committee. As Airbnb aims to leverage artificial intelligence, Brian Chesky, the CEO, believes that with Manyika's background, experience and expertise, he's a leader to follow. Prior to Google, Manyika worked at McKinsey for around 3 decades, the press release details stated.